given you the evident light, the clear teaching. فَأَوْفُوا الْكَيْلَ وَالْمِيزَانَ وَلَا تَبْخَسُوا النَّاسَ أَشْيَاءَهُمْ. The translation of this in, I think it is Mauritius Sahib's translation is this: so give full measure and full weight, and diminish not unto people their things, and create not disorder in the earth after it has been set in order. This is better for you if you are believers. Now the subject of exploitation has now also been taken up now. You know, the communist slogan is, no man would be permitted to exploit others. And this is exactly what the Hadhrat Shuaib claimed so many years ago, thousands of years ago, and in almost the same words, but with a different approach. When we will come to that, I can explain that later on. The emphasis is not only paying others who are unfortunately deprived ones, that is zakat, but also the emphasis on not acquiring money wrongfully. There are two emphases in religion, not just one. In communism, the difference is that although they emphasize that exploitation should not be indulged in or will not be permitted you, but there is no concept of giving of your own accord something to the have-nots. So no concept of any flow of money from one side to the other of one's own free will is present in communism. All that is claimed by communism is a compulsive machinery which would force people to part with their earned money for the sake of others who do not have money. Or not only that, to part with their money in favor of a state, in favor of a God, as I said earlier, and let that God decide how that money should be spent. So you earn and let the God spend. That is in essence the communist message. The Holy Quran's message, as is derived from the earlier messages of prophets to mankind, and which have a common thread between all prophets, is a two-pronged emphasis. Number one, do not exploit others. How they can be exploited, that is discussed in some detail here and in some other details elsewhere. But all the ways and forms of exploitation have been totally forbidden in Islam ultimately. And the second emphasis is to part with your own well-earned money, rightly earned money, because there is no exploitation, so the money you earn is yours for the sake of others, of your own free will, without any compulsion. Before a time comes, if you do not part with your money freely, the Holy Quran warns us, before a time comes when you will be compelled to part with your money. So the warning is given that before the choice is taken from you, look after the needs and requirements of the less fortunate ones of your society. Unless you do it, you will not be fulfilling your duties to yourselves. And this is the heaven created on earth by God. If you do not do it, this heaven will turn into hell for you. And a time may come when the option would be taken away from you. Then you will be compelled to part with your rightful earnings, and then the matters would be taken over by some artificial gods or false gods, and ultimately you will suffer. This is the gist of the message we have received from the Holy Quran, which is spread over so many verses of the Holy Quran, which at present I do not mean to quote in detail, but later on when I discuss this subject somewhere else, I'll specify those verses in which this message has been delivered. But to come to the conclusion, this is how we must understand Nema. Nema, according to the Holy Quran, is just not an imaginary gift of Allah by declaring somebody to be a prophet, and that is Nema. It is not so at all. Nema has a background of a great struggle, a great background of a two-pronged struggle. Number one, of establishing the rightful worshipper, the rightful object of worship, and introducing that object of worship to the rest of mankind, and to launch a wide-scale struggle to establish to introduce that object worthy of worship to the mankind, and to convince them that they should worship him and none others. Secondly, Nema requires a large-scale launching of struggle among fellow beings, among mankind, to establish an order based on absolute justice and fair play, where no exploitation is made at all, where none is permitted, and also to inculcate a habit among men to look for their to strive to remove the miseries of the less fortunate human beings in the society, of volition, of their own accord, and acquire a sort of pleasure in doing so. This in nutshell, as I say, in nutshell again, because this is a very brief introduction of prophethood, which has been introduced to us by the Holy Quran. And if we do consider it a Nema, really, then the Jamaat Ahmadiyya should strive in both these directions and prove herself to be honest and righteous in this regard and truthful in this regard. Unless we launch a movement in both these directions and bring mankind closer to this concept of Nema, the object of creating prophets would be frustrated totally. It would be meaningless. It would be just an ethereal something which has no more any concern with us. It would be a Nema for the prophets of the past, but that Nema would not be further relate towards us. It not be further carried on towards us. What should I say? It would be Nema which would end up there. It would be a Khatme Nema in fact. Not that we will be able to benefit from that Nema, because we will break that bridge ourselves. On this subject, inshallah, I will speak later on, but because I don't want to prolong my dars on the word Nema too much, and I intend, whether I be able to do it or not, at least I intend to finish the dars on Surah Fatiha during this Ramadan, inshallah. So maybe in the next Ramadan I'll finish the remaining part of the subject of Nema and switch on to the subject of Maghzoob alayhim. And what is the relationship between these two? Or what is the variance between these two? Anamta alayhim and Maghzoob alayhim, inshallah. That is tomorrow. हो गया वक्त? आज तो मुझे लगा बहुत जल्दी हो गया खत्म. और at the same time I felt that most of the people were prone to falling asleep, And on the other hand, I felt the time was flying too fast because the subject was difficult for me to explain. And there was so much I wanted to contain in so short space. So as far as I was concerned, my time was passing very rapidly. As far as you were concerned, your time was passing very slowly. This is what relativity is.